Many people talk about the ups and downs of married life, but no one really prepares you for life after your spouse passes away. Welcome to Widowhood Real Talk with Dr. Tina, a safe place for widows, widowers, and their friends and family to talk about love and loss. Find comfort as you listen to honest conversations between Dr. Tina and invited guests who've experienced the loss of their forever partner, share their stories of love, grief, and healing. You are not alone in this journey. Join today's episode and discover a wealth of resources and learn how to connect with others who are traveling the same path. This is Widowhood Real Talk with Dr. Tina.
We are celebrating the founder's birthday of Widowhood Real Talk with Tina. Yes, that is me. I am turning 60 and I'm inviting you to join me on May 16th, 2026, Norfolk, Virginia, for Hope Grows Here. We are celebrating my birthday. We are dancing. We have a live comedian, and we are celebrating you, the listeners, the widows, widowers who have been supporting this podcast. It is our time to celebrate. Join me. For details, email me at widowhoodrealtalk@gmail.com. I hope to see you there. Grief oftentimes can leave you feeling broken, wearing a mask, hiding your true feelings, and questioning why this is happening to me. Our guest, Tami Franklin, shares her personal lived experience of trauma, grief, heartache, not wanting to be here anymore, but pulling up from all of that in her faith and in her strength and courage in God to know her life has purpose, that healing is possible, and resilience is not just a word, it is an intentional choice that she chose daily. But 3 years in a pit, a pastor praying and being by her side and being in resilience has kept her through. Let's get into this conversation with Tami because resilience and hope is what you need. Hello, Tami. Welcome to the Widowhood.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm honored to be here.
Aw, when you hear widowhood and welcome, like what's the ticker tape message? Like if someone could open up your mind and go, what really comes across?
Widowhood, first thought is, or the first word that comes to mind is sisterhood, community, grief community, and welcome is just arms are open. Welcome. Because you have a story too. It may not be the same, but you have a story too, and you're welcome.
You nailed that because
Awesome.
that is exactly what I want to convey
Okay.
in something that is very difficult.
Yeah.
I'm from Chicago, so the word hood is family. It's that collective. It's that group
Yeah.
of people. It may be the widow, but there are surrounding losses. And as you
Mhm.
mentioned, those losses may be different, but they have very similar components.
Correct.
And I believe experiencing a profound loss makes life different.
It does.
If you're willing to lean into the process, it's not just what happened to me, it's what have I done in this process.
Absolutely.
And when I reached out to you to have this conversation, I know you
Yeah.
were a bit hesitant. It's like,
Yeah.
not my story, but I think
Right.
if we had conversation,
We
you
did.
realize the similarity of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad we had that conversation to kind of talk through what your goals were. And it did help me understand that the stories are aligned in different ways, but they're aligned.
They are.
Yeah.
Tammy, you've lived through multiple losses and still found courage to write about it. What made now the right time to tell your story and to write your book?
Well, I've been writing the book for nearly 13 and a half years. And that within itself has been a journey. But when I got to a point, late last year where I had written out all the chapters, read it over and over a million times, and I had nothing else left to write, I knew that I was empty and it was time to get the book published. Given the way the world is now, I think every day, we're just more and more in need. People are in need of hearing stories of survival. Life is hard, and we all grieve something, whether it's a person that we've lost or something, a job or something that was significant. I think it's just really important to hear stories of survival and faith more and more. And so I just believe now is the time. Now it's just the appointed time is now.
And your book title is?
Unmasked, unbroken, healed, and set free. A journey of healing, liberation, and redemption.
When you selected this title,
Mhm.
what did it represent for your personal experience, and what did you wanna convey to the reader?
Well, being unmasked, because of the losses I've been through and trauma, I have placed different masks on and showed up in different ways where I thought I would be accepted. So there were different masks that I wore. And at this point in my life, I just after so many losses and compounded grief, it came became painful to wear all those masks because it wasn't the person that I truly was at the core. So to become unmasked, to unveil the real me, who I am, to be unbroken throughout that journey of writing, I also completed 14 years of trauma therapy and deliverance, and getting really set free. So unmasked, unbroken, healed, walking through healing, thinking from a healed place, having my mind be renewed, learning coping strategies and mechanisms, and then being set free was the deliverance. Deliverance from the things that plagued me for so many years that I carried that really didn't belong to me.
So that is for you. When someone is skimming through Barnes& and Noble, Amazon, or looking,
Yeah.
and they see this book,
Mhm.
what are you hoping that they see?
I hope that they see, a story from a woman who was just resilient, who has gone through, so many things, and even if you can see by the cover, I'm on the cover, I don't look like what I've been through. I hope that they see, hope. I hope that they see courage. Most importantly, I hope they see I don't wanna just say faith, but like a resilient type of faith, the type of faith that can move mountains, that kind of faith.
And when you speak about faith, how has faith shaped the way you have experienced life, your grief, the
Mhm.
things that have impacted you?
Well, it's very clear to me as I wrote in the book at the very beginning, I was at rock bottom with grief, grieving the loss of my passing of my daughter, and that was me experiencing grief, not holding on to anything but how it felt. It was painful doesn't begin to describe that. It was raw. My soul felt raw. And when I called out and cried out to God, He answered audibly in that moment. And then I went on this beautiful journey with Him. And throughout that journey, it's been a long time, there were people who I call like glory carriers, divine resources who came with a word of faith. And it was just an on time, something I needed to hear right then and there that really helped carry me past the hard, emotion, how grief comes in waves. And it would help carry me past that, help me to persevere. There was a pastor who was assigned to me to pray for me for 3 years. I was in a pit of grief, and he helped pray me out of there until I was out permanently. And so I think that's the difference. I don't believe that you can grieve really extreme losses in our own capacity. I see so many people who have really emotionally kinda lost their lives. They've just never been the same in a bad way because they're really striving to understand and live with this grief alone without reaching out to the higher power of faith. Because I did grab hold of God's hand and didn't let go, I can speak about this beautiful journey of grief and how God really downloaded in me that grief is holy ground because the word says that God is ever so close to the brokenhearted. He was close to me. He left the 99 to pursue the one when I was the one. That's my testament. It's not just what I've read in the Bible, I lived it. And so this beautiful journey, like my mind has been renewed, what I see is different. It's a beautiful journey at this point.
It's interesting you talked about that. I had your author's note already something that I wanted to read. So I would like to read this
Okay.
and for you to share what that means to you now, because sometimes when we write something, where we were at that moment is different than where we are a year or 2,
Yes.
or let's say 14 years
Oh,
later.
yes,
It's
14.
the journey
Yeah.
of you
Yes.
writing this book,
Okay.
okay?
Okay.
Author's note, and there is a mask here. This memoir is a reflection of my lived experience, my truth, as I walked through it, survived it, by the grace of God, began to heal from it. The memories shared here are based on what I remember, what I felt, and what shaped me. While I've done my best to accurately recount events, some names, locations, and identify the details have been changed to protect the privacy of those involved. Throughout these pages, speak honestly about deep, personal, painful events. At times, this includes matters of legal and criminal nature. Please know, I am not here to accuse, defend, or litigate.
Mm.
I share only what I carried, what I witnessed, and what I lived. There was a time when I attempted to share what I knew with the law enforcement, including arranging to speak with local sergeants. That meeting never took place. What followed was a season of confusion, fear, and trauma no one is ever truly prepared for. I did what I could at the time with the knowledge, safety, and emotional capacity I had. Abuse doesn't just wound the body, it distorts truth, reshapes reasoning, and can silence even the strongest voice. I often found myself justifying an unjustifiable, not out of ignorance, but out of survival.
Yeah.
If you've been there, I see you. This book was written with you in mind. This story is not about blame, it's about freedom. It's not about perfection, it's about redemption. My prayer is that in sharing this truth, others will find healing in theirs. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good, to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. Genesis 50:20. With love, Tami Franklin, author of Unmasked, Unbroken, Healed, and Set Free. In the course of life, I have spoken to many people who have been through traumatic experiences.
Yes.
And instead of leaning into God, they found themselves mad at God, distant, not wanting to communicate, and wondering if even God existed.
Yeah.
How has your story become different than that?
It was different because there was something inside of me that said there had to be something greater on the other end of this. I could not imagine a God that would allow me to suffer so greatly without there being something greater on the other side of it. I could not imagine walking through everything I was going through alone. I tried it, and I was at a point to where I wanted to die. And that's actually just, my thought on it.
And faith is a very personal journey.
It
You can
is.
sit right next to someone else in your place of worship and go through similar experiences and view them differently.
Absolutely.
But when you've gone through something and what you've believed has shown up and been physically evident, there's a difference there. It's not just something I hope, but you saw the evidence of it manifest in your life as you
Mhm.
spoke about the pastor being assigned to pray for you for 3 years.
Years. From Ghana, Africa, who had no relation to me or anyone I knew, just out of the blue, and he started
Really?
praying
Out of
for
the
me.
blue? On
Well,
assignment.
not out of the blue, you're right, thank you for that correction. On assignment, on assignment.
But it didn't stop the process from happening.
No, not at all.
What would you say to someone that said, "I thought God loved me. Why is God allowing me to go through this? He could stop it."
He could, but what I've learned over everything that I've gone through is that God allows things to happen for a higher purpose. Again, our thoughts are not his thoughts, and our ways are not his ways. And, here we believe that, when bad things happen, that is against us. But sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes it's here to teach us something. Sometimes it's here to shape us in a different way. Sometimes it's a ministry. And I believe that really the hard things that we've been able to go through and overcome are really ministry. We could share with someone else the things that we've gone through, how we overcame them, and now we're helping other people. So I believe that he does love us, obviously. He allows things to happen for a reason sometimes we can't understand. But also, the Bible talks about hidden treasures. I believe that when you trust him in the moments that are unfathomable, where you can't imagine ever having experienced what you're going through and really trust them, that's where you find the hidden treasures. That's where you find some of the answers that won't come from any other human. It's a spiritual thing.
From that, I want to read the preface.
Mhm.
Meeting with God. Call to me and I will answer you and tell you great and unsearchable things you do not know. Jeremiah 33:3. Why was it important to start your book with that verse?
Because I started the book with a scene where I was at that rock bottom place and calling out to God and saying, "I don't wanna live anymore. I can't live with this pain. I don't know what to do with it. I just don't wanna live." And the word says, "Call to me and I will answer." Well, it became true for me because I called out his name 3 times and I audibly heard him say, "I've allowed you to get to this place for a reason. I needed you to slow down to see your life."
When I read that part, it put chills in my body to think about the hardship of life,
Yeah,
thinking, "I don't wanna do this anymore.
yeah,
This no, I had another
absolutely.
version. I ordered a different life, like, this is not
Yeah,
what was on the menu." But this is
absolutely.
what life looks like often. We don't get what we ordered, but we
No,
do get something amazing
we do.
if we choose to look at it that way.
We do.
Hard. Those 3 years and everything you've endured in this is real, but what we
Absolutely.
do with it
What
matters.
do we do with it? And it again, you may not be able to get there mentally by yourself. It takes the renewing of your mind and calling out for whatever you need. Whatever you ask God for, He will answer and He will give to you. You just have to believe it. And that's not always easy either, but it's a journey. Sometimes that just believing is a journey. But if you continue, you'll see how it starts to build you up, the Word and God Himself again, with people or whatever.
My listeners that came across this video, and they were expecting another video about somebody that had lost a spouse, and the
Mhm.
idea of God is foreign to them.
Yeah.
What does that mean, and how would you introduce them to God?
I would I would say, first of all, we are all made in God's image, and so, the Spirit of God lives in each and every one of us. We may not There's some people that may not feel that connection, yet it is still there, it is real. I would say that if, there's someone that's maybe searching to test what, um, well, I wanna say test what the word says, but they may not have even read the word. But, try it, talk to God, maybe you could, read the Bible in certain wherever you're kinda led to, and test the word for yourself just to see, because the word even says, "Test me in what I've said and see if it's real, see how it shows up in your life." I would say, be open to it and try it. Because what I know now that 100%, it will none of the words in the Bible are ever returned void. So I would definitely, ask someone to try the word for themselves.
Thank you. As I'm writing this, it has been about 30 days. Say your daughter's name for us, please.
Brittany,
Brittany.
yes.
As I am writing this, I wanted you to be the first person to say her name in this conversation.
Okay, thank you.
As I'm writing this, it has been about 30 days since my sweetheart Brittany passed away. Brittany, or Britt, as I called her, was the oldest of my 5 kids. She was 22 years old and passed away after a 5.5 year battle with a rare form of cancer called, now I am going to mess that up,
It's chordoma.
chordoma.
Yes.
The cancer was discovered in 2006 after Britt kept complaining about extreme back pain. After taking her to our family doctor for over a year and a half and receiving different explanations of what it could be, the doctor finally suggested we do an x-ray of her chest to see what it would reveal. Before we made it home from the x-ray, a call in on my cell phone from the doctor's nurse. When I answered, the panicked nurse on the other end blurted, "You need to take Brittany to the nearest emergency room as soon as possible. She has a 16-inch tumor on her spine."
Mhm.
For the nurse to be unhinged,
Yeah,
to get this call, and I mean, sometimes we wait 2, 3 days to hear from,
right.
and you're
We
driving home.
we're driving home from the X-ray facility.
And this starts a chain of events.
Absolutely.
When you said 30 days, was this a journal you were keeping? Or did you
Yes.
actually start thinking of the idea of writing a book then?
It was a journal. I had
Okay.
started with a journal, just recounting my experience.
And when you hear this now, do you see Brittany?
I do, I do. I remember that call came in and I asked Brittany, I'm like, "Are you sure you're feeling okay?" Like, I knew she was in pain, and she's like, "Mom, like, I'm fine." And now she's afraid, like, "Mom, I'm fine. Like, why are you asking me like that?" Because she heard me on the phone, but she couldn't hear. I didn't take it on speaker. She
Okay.
couldn't hear what the nurses said, but she knew it was the doctor's office. And so that was our conversation, and we just, got to the nearest emergency room as soon as possible.
And my goal is not to give them the whole book. The
Sure.
goal is to them get to know you, to
Okay.
desire to want to read the entire book and share.
Okay.
So I don't want you to think like, "She's not going through all of it."
No, that's okay.
That's my
That's o
intention. Okay.
that's okay.
And now I'm trying to choose. So what I want to talk about versus what I thought I wanted to talk about. So I've got to switch that up a little bit.
Okay,
I love how you quote yourself in the beginning of the chapters. I
really.
want to say that because a lot of times people spend a lot of time trying to find a different author or a verse, and you started it with a snippet from yourself in the
Yeah,
chapters. How did
yes.
you come up with that idea?
Well, I have to admit that originally I was one of those that was searching for quotes from other people, but I know that through this journey, like, God had really had inspired me so much. I was sharing a bunch of quotes and just, positive inspirational things on social media. So I'm like, I have an arsenal of things that I can share. So I started searching through for what would be appropriate for the beginning of the titles, each chapter, and I said, "You know what? Why not?" Because they inspired many people over the years, and they're very appropriate for my story. So that's where I came in and replaced some of the other quotes with my own.
Awesome. Thank you for
Mhm.
sharing that. So,
Sure.
because I was, like, trying to find it in the book, and I'm like, "Hold on, I'm not." So, there we go. That's the
Yeah.
answer to that. I want to read the Tammy quote for this chapter.
Okay.
Then if you would share what this chapter is about.
Okay.
Chapter 4,
Mm.
Ziploc Bag.
Mm.
If you run into the little girl I used to be, let her know that everything she suffered through was well worth the investment of her heart and broken soul. That the woman she is today is the woman she needed then. Tammy Franklin.
Yes. So that chapter, Ziploc Bag, is about a very broken little girl because I was a teenager at the time, and, I had had a miscarriage, and just I was very, not educated on many things. I knew I was pregnant, I knew I had a miscarriage, and, when it passed, I put it in a Ziploc bag and put it in my top drawer. Again, a young girl, not knowing what to do, and that was me mourning the passing of my first child, actually, and I don't think I've ever said that before. I've shared the story before, but I'd never said that that was the passing of my first child, but I was a child that experienced child loss, and so that is the quote, um, that came to mind because through my journey, everything I've learned, the woman that I've become, I am the woman that I wish I had when I was that age. The one who's compassionate, who will help, who will listen without judgment, and, who will help that person or young girl or whatever through that journey, hard journey.
In everything that you've experienced in life, w
Mm,
you were able to retain it and to step back into time
yeah,
and to speak to Tammy then, what would you tell
yes. Honestly, I would tell her from a faith standpoint is everything she's going through is because she is called and she is chosen. And I know that the journey is hard, but there's a higher purpose and calling on your life. And God is cultivating everything you're experiencing for his higher good.
I like how you said cultivating for your experience, because in often conversations, people feel as if God or the universe is doing this to them and attacking them, and this is a repercussion and a punishment. Or is it humanity is flawed and there are things that happen what God makes through the experience?
I want to agree that humanity is flawed. We're flawed in our thinking. We're flawed in some of our beliefs too, because a lot of our beliefs are not what the word says. And because the word says that the enemy, Satan, is the accuser of the brethren, of course, those thoughts come in, and sometimes we relate them to our own beliefs, not realizing that they are coming from outside sources. So I think that that's really the best way to explain that. Hopefully that makes sense.
Thank you. You
Mm.
have experienced the loss of your daughter and your
Yes.
stepson.
Yes.
How has that changed what you thought grief was to what it is?
Gosh. I thought grief was, grieving, really aching, probably being stuck in this grief cycle where you hear people say, "I'll never get over that. I'll never get over this. I'll never heal." And you'll never hear me confess that. And even in my worst of worst, I never confess that because it's not the truth. So that was really, I think, the greatest thing that I would say. Um,
Many people going through grief, especially child loss,
mhm,
plague themselves with, if I would have done this, or I wish I would have done this, or why.
yeah.
How did that become a part of your journey, but not swallow you up?
It was initially, something that plagued me for the first 2 years because I didn't tell Brittany that the diagnosis was terminal. She was 16 years old, my child. I didn't want her to focus on that diagnosis. I wanted her to focus on living. And I remember at the time God had given me this is the gift of time. It was a message that he downloaded it into me. It's the gift of time. We all have the gift of time. We don't know when our time is up here on earth. And so let's live every day as if it's our last. And that's what I wanted the focus to be. So after she passed away, I kind of toiled with that for, like I said, a couple of years and said, well, maybe I should have told her. Maybe she had a right to know. But then I finally, resonated with the fact that no, I did exactly right because she lived every day to the fullest. And I didn't take anything away from her. She had an authentic experience because it was what she was just, what she believed and what she was going through every day. And she really met it with her highest, best self every day.
And the next chapter, The Gift of Time,
Yes, the gift of time.
which is
Absolutely.
chapter 8. So just so the
Yes.
listeners know, it wasn't sequential. This lined up. Chapter 8, The Gift of Time. In life's most turbulent seasons, time becomes a sacred gift, a gentle reminder that healing unfolds in moments, not milestones, and every second holds the power to restore, renew, reveal purpose. Tammy Franklin.
Yes. So, gift of time and that quote, as had said, grief comes in waves. And our natural human way about dealing with hard moments like that is to avoid it, to try to fill the space up with something else, to numb it out and not deal with it. But every wave comes to teach us something. It comes to teach us something or it comes to refine us further. And when we can sit through that wave and allow it to tell us what it's there for and learn and receive it, that is where we're at that optimal place that we need to be to continue on in the journey.
Mm. You have been so kind to share with us things that happened in your youth,
Yes.
your journey through grief and different things that you grieve. How does
Yes.
that connect to things that you experience now in life?
Honestly, everything I've been through, especially the grief, is really softened my heart. I
Mm.
have such a compassion for people, broken people, people going through trauma. It's like almost like a calling. Like I want to be there to help them, to give them words of life. Like words of life were given to me to help me see it differently. Wherever I can be there, to add to someone's life that way, I want to do that. So I say that to say, life is still hard, right? We all have hard things that happen. I see it, I receive it in a different way. Usually, if it's really, really hard and it's like it won't just go away, I'm asking God, what am I to learn here? Help me to see what I need, what I can't see, and know what I can't know. Help me learn what I need to learn from this moment. And I take it that way. I don't allow hard emotions to take me out. Yeah, sometimes things will come, right? But I usually always get back to that solid ground of, okay, there's something here that I need to learn, or there's something here that I need to know that I didn't know earlier. I try to find out a purpose behind it.
In the 14 years of writing the book,
Yes.
the life lived before it happened, were you always trying to find something out in the process of it, or did that come late?
It came late. I always had this gift of being the one who inspires other. I have a gift of edification, And it just started growing inside of me. So I was one that would always try to see the positive side of things. And like I said, I was the encourager or inspirer of other people. But I was always greatly moved by hard things emotionally. I was always I was born and raised in the church, so I always had faith, but something would come and happen, and I'd be like, "Oh, God, why did you let that happen?" So I would be greatly moved. And then I started to realize, like, wait a minute, that's not faith. Because if I have faith, you may sway like a palm tree will sway in a storm, but it won't become uprooted. I was becoming uprooted. So I think all those things really helped to grow my roots stronger. And then I started catching when I was becoming swayed sooner. And then I can catch it and say, oh no, and speak in faith.
Wow. This is chapter 13.
Mm,
Pay attention to the hard pause.
yes.
As I arrived in Phoenix and greeted my kids, Bree, Brian, and Tiki,
Yes, Tiki. She doesn't want me to use her real name. She said Tiki is fine.
through our tears, we talked about each of our accounts of the last time we saw Christian and what was special to each of us about him. We shared all the memories we could muster at that time. Then I had a sudden realization. I told Bree, my oldest now, that God knew the heartbreak we were going to be walking through. And in his grace, he gave us her newborn son, Cameron, who was just shy of 6 weeks old at the time of Christian's passing. I said, babies are a heritage, a gift from God. Cam told God yes and agreed to the assignment of joining our family here on earth. God knew we would need the love of his precious gift right now, and we must thank him even in the heartbreak of this moment.
That brings tears to my eyes, but it was a tender moment, and it was just spoken through me. It's not something that I had read anywhere or something I had rehearsed before. It was spoken through me. It was a realization in that moment that while we were grieving the loss of my kid's second sibling, God's grace was there. We had this beautiful newborn baby, which my daughter didn't think. She thought she was gonna have trouble getting pregnant, and she and her husband had this beautiful baby 6 weeks before. And so this newborn baby, we were able to love on him through our grief, and it really helped. It really did. It was a beautiful gift.
I want to shift the conversation to your author journey.
Okay. Okay.
There are often people that are hearing these stories and go, I too want to write a book.
Yes.
There is something in me that I feel like the world should know. But when you began writing, did you see it as therapy, a testimony, or what did you see it as?
When I began writing, it was more, maybe both, kinda all things because it started with me sending emails to myself, things that I thought that I just needed to document and keep. When Brittany was going through her journey of cancer, we had a large amount of, like, people in our community and family and friends that I would keep updated by email to say, "This is where we are, these are the prayers we're looking for." And it got me used to writing. It came more like a narrative, like I'm writing a story, our story. And that resonated with me. So I would start to save those as well and collected them in a folder. So it was kind of both like testimonies and just like journaling.
At what point in the journaling, in the capturing, did you realize this is more than sharing our story, that a book needs to come from this, that there's someone that needs to hear this that will be encouraged?
One day I was going through all because by this time I had hundreds of emails in this one folder, and I went to the beginning, I started reading, and I'm like, "Wow," and I asked God, I said, "Why did you let us go through so much?" And I just had this revelation, like, because there's a testimony here, and this is a book. It's funny because when Brittany was going through her journey, we spent many hours, days, weeks, months at the hospital, and we talked about our story, her story being a movie. And it was something that kinda kept us, talking and not keeping our mind on the treatment she was going through. And we would laugh about it, but then later, as I'm going through these emails and thinking back to that time, I'm like, "Maybe there's a book here." There's God said it's a testimony. What better way to have a public testimony than to because it was so much, and even, I'd shared it with some people, and they're like, "This should be like a Netflix miniseries. Like, this doesn't sound like this could be one person's life. This has to be a book." So it was kinda all those things came together, and then I started putting it together like a book.
Hmm. What has the publishing journey taught you about patience and
Ooh.
perseverance?
I have a very good lesson about that. Can I share with you? Well,
Absolutely, this is your story.
yeah.
I'm just here navigating it.
My first attempt at publishing, this was the book cover, and I was writing under a pen name, Quiet Storm Speaks. And the editor I was using at the time was my editor and publisher. And whatever software she used introduced errors into my book, to a point to where it was completely scrambled. And the only way I found out is because I ordered an author's copy and read through it before I published it. Although I had already told all of my followers that I was gonna publish this book. When I got it, I was devastated, and the entire book had to be rewritten. So that gave me, and it's in the book too, chapter 14, hard pause. As I sat with that, I realized the book wasn't ready and I wasn't ready. But also, that helped me direct me to my new editor and my new publisher, who helped me get to a very professional book, which became, Amazon #1 bestseller in 10 categories. That wouldn't have happened with this. If I hadn't been patient and sat through the hard pause of why did this happen to get the wisdom from it, I gleaned wisdom as to why this happened and received that wisdom and used it to take 2 more years to get it right, then this would have been a book that went out that would have made me look really bad, and, it wouldn't have accomplished what God intended for it to accomplish.
At all. Hmm.
Mhm. Patience is huge. It's very huge with this journey.
What strategies have you used to connect and to share your book? What's worked and what has been a flop?
So far, what's really working is the communities that I am a part of. The Deliverance Center, they are a deliverance center for people around the world. So we have women Zoom calls, and I'm known in the community. And the deliverance ministers have really supported me and putting out the book and telling everyone to join or to purchase it. They joined my launch team and read the early copies and gave me reviews. My church community, my family, obviously. So that was what has worked well so far. What hasn't worked so well is trying to move past this early momentum to keep the momentum going. What's the next step? Trying to figure that out, calling on different maybe colleagues that I've had, in common with who could help, get my story on different platforms, not really showing up. What really helped me, I was starting to get kind of discouraged. And I'm tapping into people who know me, right? And a cousin of mine who I pray together with, we have a family prayer call every Thursday. She called me and she says, "I have a message for you." And she gave me I'm looking at this, she gave me this Bible verse, Mark 6:4. "A prophet is treated with honor everywhere except in his own hometown, among his relatives and his own house." And in his own house. That freed me because people that are familiar with you know you one way. They may have grown up with you, they may have worked with you, they know you this one way. They may not see the anointing on your life or whatever the higher call is. And they, even if they see it, they may not call you that. And that helped me to pivot to know that my greatest supporters right now are strangers. When I run into new people or are introduced to new people, they are the most supportive. Everyone loves a story of redemption. And, sometimes they just love your energy, the way that you show up, and they want to invest in what you have available, what you're offering. So now that has been a great pivot for me.
You are sharing so much of your life, being so transparent.
Yes.
How are you guarding your personal space and energy?
I have to let my no be no and my yes be yes. Yes. My no does not come with a comma, but it's a no, period, and it doesn't come with guilt. Carving out intentional time for myself because the spirit being that I know I am now has learned by a process of error and, trial and error that I have to have time to transition. I have to have time to really process, especially as I'm a life coach, but I haven't launched my business yet, and I help a lot of people just pro bono right now. And when I receive from people that I'm working with, I have to have time to process for myself too, and not to overextend myself. Having gone through everything I've gone through, especially the trauma, I've lived most of my life in survival mode, which does not give you time to rest. Rest is not a part of that. So now I'm intentionally resting and putting my phone on do not disturb when I just need moments of sacred peace. And I have no apologies for that. And I feel really much better. I feel really much better just as a being that's continuing to evolve.
How does being free, healed look for you today?
Uh, it is a journey. I find moments where that survival mode pops up, and I'm very well aware that this is a survival tactic that I've done in the past, and I challenge myself to do something different. Told you earlier before we began the recording, I traveled to Maryland for this women's conference. It was I had, gotten the invite like 5 days before the conference, and I made it happen. Usually, what I would have done is made excuses why I couldn't have made it. So, I'm doing things different to be intentional, to not hide, to not have my voice be hidden anymore, to take up space because I am needed to be there just like everyone else, and, not let those voices be louder than what I know is the truth. And it's intentional because, like I said, some days it's like those voices come and I'm maybe mousing down a little bit to it, and then I realize, like, "Wait a minute, no, no, we don't live like that anymore. This is a new day, and we walk in freedom." And I have to constantly remind myself of that, but that's okay because it's a continual journey.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I try to give my guests an opportunity to be the podcast host. So, do you have any questions you'd like to ask me?
You know what? I think the biggest question that comes to mind right now is how do you think your listeners will relate to my journey, as far as their journey? Because it sounds like most of your listeners are maybe of, widows and have gone through that loss, but how do you believe they will relate or resonate with my story?
That is a good question. The majority of my listeners are widows or widowers, but there is a large, component of my listeners that are also part of that hood, that
Okay.
are
Mhm.
people who are dealing with parental loss. that
Yeah.
are dealing with child loss, dealing with sibling loss, parent loss. There are some people dealing with health issues, relocation, losing a job. As you spoke about earlier in the conversation, the world is in turmoil and people are finding themselves in unfamiliar territory
Yeah.
and looking for ways to navigate it, looking for ways to have hope, looking for ways to try things they may have not done before because what they've been doing hasn't worked. And they're
Right.
still getting up every day. And to hear someone say, I didn't want to be here anymore, but I found a way to be here and survive,
Yes.
that resonates because
Okay.
it may not look, the details of the why may not
Right.
be the same, but the feelings are.
Right.
The
Absolutely.
hurt and the maybe this is the place I can find inspiration because
Yes.
I am lacking it. And
Yes.
the idea of the resounding tone, community is important.
It is.
Yes, there are important moments of reflection and pulling away as you spoke about, but there is
Mhm.
power in numbers. And
Yes.
being
Agree.
able to say, this person may be able to coach me on my difficulty
Yes.
because they've shown what they've gone through.
Yes.
And this is somebody that I can relate to is more of the issue. So I
Okay.
think that the story that you shared, your life journey, is going to empower the listener to wanna say, "I can do this." May
Amen.
not be what I wanted to do,
Right.
but this is
Right.
something that I can.
Right. Okay. I appreciate that. Another question I just thought of, and this is something that I ask everyone that I coach or even just in, familiar circles with. What is healing you right now in this season?
So, I always have to make this separation.
Mhm.
Widowhood Real Talk with Tina
Mhm.
is a registered 501(c)(3) that has no faith affiliation.
Okay.
We
Mhm.
support people because a loved one has died, and
Yes.
we show up to support them and love them, whether it's through our grief support meetings or it is through a mental health event, through these podcasts,
Mhm.
because hopeless people are too many in our world, and they
I
need to
agree.
know the community exists.
I
So
agree.
that is Widowhood Real Talk with Tina as an organization.
Yes.
Tina as an individual,
Yes.
if it was not for my relationship with God, there is
Mhm.
nothing else that has the capacity to heal me or strengthen me.
Right.
Because at the end of the day and everything is done, everything is temporary.
Amen. That's true.
Everything has a beginning and an end. But that is where I find my strength trying to do better before a podcast, before a grief support meeting, before some place that I know I need to share and pour out to make sure I am filled and in perspective and aligned with what God has called me to do and not
Yes.
trying to do it of my own ability, because that's going to crash and burn.
Yes.
But
Very true.
knowing that and literally resting. I worked from home today. After I was done, I went and took a nap. I
Yes.
literally got up out of bed
I love
15
that.
minutes before this conversation because I was tired. I get up
Yeah.
for workout in the morning with my sister like 4:30, 5 a.m. I
Yes.
try to have my personal devotional and prayer time in the morning.
Mhm.
And the girl be weary and I didn't drink all the water and drink all the coffee. You can't beat sleep.
You can't
So
beat sleep, that's true. I
I was
love that.
like,
That's real.
I am gonna go take a nap.
Yeah,
And my husband gets on me all the time. He's like, "Why don't you just go to sleep?" And I'm
yeah.
like, "I could do it. I could do it."
That sounds so familiar.
And I can't,
Pushing through.
and I can't. And what I will do after this, if it's not too bad out, I'm probably gonna go for a walk to
Nice.
reset myself. Being
Yeah.
outside, fresh air, moving my
Yes.
body, time away from all of the noise and just
Yes.
hearing
Yes.
nature, it feels my soul
That's
to be
good.
able to walk and move. So those things are what are healing for me.
Okay. I love everything you said. Everything you said. Absolutely perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you
Mhm.
for trusting me, after
Yes.
the anonymous
Yeah.
invitation out there.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Thank
that,
you.
and I want you to close out this conversation,
Mhm.
share with our listeners how they can connect with you, whether it is to purchase your book, to maybe have you for a speaking engagement or
Yes.
coaching, and what that looks like, and how you can support them in their difficult time and how you show up. And any
Okay.
final word?
Okay. So your reader or your listeners can follow me on my website or find me there, Tami, Tami Franklin.com. You'll see a link for my book purchase, which goes to Amazon, but the book is available online, Barnes and Noble, and other major retailers. You could also email me through that website. There's a media kit on the website that tells you what I'm up to, which I'm currently building out right now for a scheduling fall, tour, book tour, where I'll have, book signings. As far as life coaching, I haven't officially launched my business yet, but it is called House of Hope and Healing. And the goal is to help those who are in any type of transformational period of their lives, whether it's from grief to, going for healing, inner healing. I do faith-based coaching as well as, like I said, grief support through House of Hope and Healing. So then the last thing I want to leave, and I really love how you said that your 501(c)(3) supports everyone. I think that that's huge. Although I'm a faith-based life coach and I always speak in faith, I'm always open to helping anyone. My call is to the brokenhearted to help on this journey to help them find hope and healing. That's why my business is House of Hope and Healing. So I want to encourage anyone that's going through anything that needs any type of hope or encouragement or just a different perspective that's can help you where you are right now, absolutely reach out to me. I'm always honored to help, even if it's outside of just my business. I'm always honored to help because, several people reached out and helped me on my journey. So it's my honor to reach back and help others on theirs.
Thank you, Tammy.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you for spending another episode with Widowhood Real Talk. If you found the contents of today helpful, share the episode to anyone you know who may need it. Subscribe to the show and tune into Widowhood Real Talk each week. Then, visit widowhood-realtalkwithtina.org to join the community and access additional resources. Remember, you are not alone in this journey.